Today was episode might change the way you see love forever because our guest is 96 years old and she was married for over 60 years. Today was episode might change the way you see love forever because our guest is 96 years old and she was married for over 60 years. Today's conversation might completely change the way you see love because our guest is 96 years old and she was married for over 60 years. And what she's about
to one man. And today, I want to tell you something most people don't want to hear. The truth can feel uncomfortable, but if you are married or planning to get married, this might change how you see everything. Here it is. Most people do not marry the right person. And honestly, that is completely okay. When I was 24, I married a man named Daniel. He was kind, responsible, hard-working, and he made me laugh. Everyone around me said I was lucky. My family was happy. My friends were jealous in a good way, and I believed it too. I thought I had found the one. I thought life had finally started. But life doesn't stay like that. After a few years of marriage, reality slowly showed itself. Small things started to feel big. He left things messy while I preferred order. I wanted to talk when he stayed quiet. He wanted to talk when I needed silence. We handled money differently. We reacted differently to stress. And slowly, those small differences became arguments. At that time, everything felt serious. Every disagreement felt like a sign. I started thinking, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe we are not meant for each other. I was young, emotional, and confused, and I believed love was supposed to feel easy all the time. One afternoon, I was sitting with an older neighbor of mine. She had been married for over 30 years. I told her honestly that I was unhappy, that I didn't know if I chose the right person. I expected comfort or agreement. But instead, she laughed. Not in a rude way, but like someone who had seen life clearly. And then she said something I never forgot. She said, "We all marry the wrong person in the beginning. The secret is learning how to make them the right person." At that time, I didn't understand what she meant. It sounded strange to me. But now, after decades of marriage, I understand it deeply. Here's something nobody tells you about marriage. People change constantly. The person you marry is not the same person you live with 20 or 40 years later, and you are not the same either. The man I married at 24 was energetic, confident, and full of dreams. At 40, he was stressed, tired, and worried about responsibility. At 60, he became softer, calmer, and more thoughtful. At 80, he moved slowly and needed more care than before. So tell me, which version did I marry? All of them, and none of them. And I changed too. At 24, I was quiet and unsure. At 35, I became more stubborn. At 50, I went through grief and emotional pain after losing my mother. At 70, I became more patient than I ever thought possible. At 85, I understood silence in a completely different way. If we had met at different stages of life, we might not have even recognized each other. That is the truth about long marriages. You're not marrying a fixed person. You're marrying a changing human being, and you're changing too. So the real question is not, did I marry the right person? The real question is, am I willing to keep choosing this person as we both change? Because there were times I did not like my husband very much. Yes, I admit that. There were days I preferred distance. There were moments I imagined a different life, a quieter life, a simpler life, a life without conflict. But those were moments, not my entire decision. I made a choice, over and over again, not because everything was perfect, but because I believed the relationship was worth working for. And something surprising happened over time. The things that once annoyed me started to feel different. His quiet nature, which I once misunderstood, turned out to be his way of thinking deeply. His habits with money, which frustrated me early on, made sense when I learned about his childhood struggles. Once I started understanding him instead of fighting him, everything softened. Marriage is not 50-50. That is another myth people believe. Some years, one person carries more. Some years, the other does. There were years when I gave everything because he was struggling. And there were years when he held everything together while I was weak. It was never equal in numbers, but it was balanced in commitment. When I had surgery once, he took care of everything. I could barely move, and he never complained. Years later, when he lost his job and went through a dark time, I became his strength. That is how life works. You take turns carrying each other. Modern couples often expect too much. They expect one person to be everything: best friend, emotional support, life partner, entertainment, financial equal, and perfect companion. But no human can carry all those roles perfectly all the time. That expectation destroys more relationships than anything else. A partner is not someone who completes you. A partner is someone who stays with you while both of you grow, fail, learn, and change. I am 96 now. My husband has been gone for years, but I still think of him often. Not because he was perfect, but because we built a life together through everything. Arguments, silence, laughter, pain, growth, and forgiveness. So if you're in a relationship right now and you're confused, thinking maybe you chose wrong, let me leave you with this truth. You probably did not choose perfectly. Nobody does. But love is not about perfection. It is about choice, a daily decision to stay, to understand, to grow, and to continue. And if you keep choosing each other, even through the hard days, then maybe, just maybe, you're not with the wrong person at all. You're simply building the right story over time.
That's deep. But was it always easy? No. There were times I did not like him. There were days I wanted space, moments I imagined a different life. But I made a choice over and over again, not because everything was perfect, but because I believed the relationship was worth it. And something beautiful happened.
Yeah.
The things that once annoyed me started to make sense. Marriage is not 50-50. Some days you carry more, some days they do.
Yeah.
And today at 96, I don't remember the fights. I remember that we stayed.
Wow.
So if you're watching this and wondering if you chose the wrong person, maybe the question isn't. Maybe the question is, are you willing to keep choosing them? Because love
Yeah.
is not something you find.
Yeah.
It's something you decide
Yeah.
every single day. If this conversation made you think differently about love, then maybe that's the point. Maybe you didn't marry the wrong person. Maybe you just stopped choosing them. We'll see you in the next one.